Well, welcome into my favorite new series on the channel called Is It Too Late to Buy? I've done a few of these videos recently. I did one on Uber stock. Is it too late to buy Uber stock? Is it too late to buy Beyond Meat stock? Is it too late to buy Tesla stock? Dang, that was back when Tesla was $380 and that wasn't that long ago. I did one called Is It Too Late to Buy Facebook stock when it was $202? And here today, we're talking about the most profitable company in the world, otherwise known as Apple Corporation. This is a stock that is approaching $320 a share now. It's over $318 a share. That is Apple stock we're talking about. Is it too late to buy Apple stock? And whenever I do one of these videos, is it too late to buy? It's always on a stock that's gone up a bunch. And look at the Apple stock chart. I mean, just look at the 1 year on this one. You could pick up the stock for $150, $160 a share at this same time last year. And the stock price has literally doubled since that time. And keep in mind, we're talking about Apple here, you know, the most profitable company in the world, a massive company, over $1 trillion market cap. For it to make that type of move in a 1 year span is absolutely incredible. Okay, if any of you guys need a refresher on Apple, which you really shouldn't, okay, they have a business where they sell what's called Macs. Okay, they're otherwise known as like personal computers, laptops, things like that. They have an iPad business, which I'm using an iPad as I do this video right now. Okay, obviously the bulk of their business, if you're thinking about the revenue, the big revenue driver, the big profit driver for Apple, it is the iPhone business. Okay, that is a granddaddy of them all. They also have an Apple Watch business. They have an Apple TV business. They now even have a credit card in the market. AirPods are obviously huge. They have an accessories business, and then they have this services business that is absolutely growing into a gigantic business for itself. It's a business that's doing, you know, $10 billion plus now per quarter in revenue, not per year, per quarter. $10 billion plus per quarter now at this point in time is what the services business is doing. So that's absolutely incredible. It continues to roar higher. And don't expect those services revenue numbers to decline anytime soon. Apple's taking services more and more serious, adding more and more services on. And so the revenue will likely increase in future years for Apple when it comes to the services business. And a lot of that services business, it is a very, very profitable business for Apple. So look for that to continue to expand, and that will help Apple continue to expand profitability. That services business is absolutely phenomenal for them. Okay, now Apple stock, this is now a $1.4 trillion market cap on this company. Absolutely incredible. Okay, now market cap doesn't tell us a heck of a lot other than, you know, what the market values that company as of right now. We really like to look at the trailing P and the forward P when we're trying to figure out like valuation bases. We know Apple is a great company. We know Apple customers continue to come back to Apple products. We know they have a great management team there. We know all that. So really when we're trying to figure out Apple stock, we're not trying to figure it out from is this a good business or not. We all know it's a great business. The question is the valuation right? Okay, that's what we really got to figure out when it comes to a stock like Apple, ticker symbol AAPL. So trailing P on this one, nearly 27, forward P of over 21 as of right now. Okay, now Apple typically trades in 11 to 17 PE range. I've been an on and off shareholder of Apple for years, and I've tracked this stock for years now, you know, at least the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years. And I can tell you throughout that time, Apple has historically, you know, over the past number of years, traded in PE ranges of 11 to 17. So when we start talking about a 21 to 27 PE range for Apple stock, we're definitely talking about a much higher range than what we've been used to when it comes to a valuation basis with a stock like Apple stock. That's just really high. I mean, look at that, nearly a 27 and over a 21 forward P. That's the highest I've seen for Apple since their huge growth days back when iPhone was just a growing beast. Okay, now I always stuck up for Apple in regards to I thought it was too disrespected. I thought, you know, Wall Street never gave enough respect to the fact that if you buy an iPad, and your iPad breaks, you're going to buy the next iPad, okay? You buy an iPhone, you buy the next iPhone that comes out. It's not like people just kind of trade in and out of these. It's the software, the iOS, that's what draws people in. So people never gave credit to the unbelievable business model that Apple had there. I always thought it deserved to be valued more like a Coca-Cola stock, okay? Look at something like a Coca-Cola, stock's very overvalued. Coca-Cola straight up is very overvalued right now, but it trades at a forward P of 25.5. If we look at a stock like Pepsi, another overvalued company, definitely overvalued right now, okay? But Pepsi trades at a 24, okay? Once again, another overvalued stock, and you look at something like Apple, trades at a 21. Now, it is not our job to necessarily say, you know, Apple should be trading at this valuation, these other stocks shouldn't, although, you know, like I said, Coca-Cola and Pepsi are overvalued, there's no question about that. I would absolutely say Apple stock deserves to be trading at a higher forward P than a stock like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, but that's not always the way it works out, and just because, you know, those stocks are very overvalued doesn't mean Apple deserves to be very overvalued as well. But I do like to stick up for Apple in that regard. When I look at Apple, their business model, in my opinion, is pretty much just as safe as a business model you look at something like a Coca-Cola or Pepsi. It's not like people just make a decision to just swap out devices. That's not the way this works, man. You use a Mac all the time, guess what you're getting for your next computer? Another Mac, okay? That's the way this business works, okay? Now, Apple has something very, very big coming for its business here, okay? That will help the business grow quite a bit when we're talking about revenues and we're talking about profitability, and that's gonna be the 5G iPhones. Now, those are gonna come out likely in September, at least be shown off. We'll see when it actually gets launched. Maybe some of them come out in October, maybe January. We don't know exactly when the iPhones will come out, but they'll likely be shown off in September, because that's the way Apple's done it for the last, 10 plus years. Apple, every September, they show off the new iPhones, and this coming September should be the 5G iPhones. A lot of the Android players are already starting to show off their 5G iPhones. Some are already in the market. Now, we know with one of these technology changes, Apple doesn't like to necessarily be in front of everybody. They like to, let some other players come out with theirs, see how they do in the market, see how interest is, then Apple comes out with theirs when it's ready. And so if we're looking at this, likely September will be when the 5G iPhones come out. Now, I don't think the initial 5G iPhones will do super amazing. I think they're going to do very well in the market, but I don't think they're going to do super amazing. And the reason being is the price point will be very high for these first 5G iPhones. If you're looking at this, I got it up here, okay? So Samsung, they have a Galaxy S10 5G in the market right now, okay? The entry-level model, entry-level memory, 256 gigs, that starts at $1,200, and they actually brought that price down, and it's still $1,200. So you'll definitely get an initial surge of people that get those 5G iPhones when they come out, regardless if it's a $1,200 price point or a $1,500 price point. You definitely have a certain segment of the Apple consumer base that will definitely get those iPhones. But if you're talking about the massive numbers, and if you're talking about the mass market consumers for Apple stock in the United States, Europe, and many markets around Asia, China, and whatnot, if you're talking about those folks upgrading, I think that will really come in 2022 rather than 2021, okay? So September 2021 is when a 5G iPhone should be shown off that will be under $1,000, maybe a $999 price point, maybe an $899 price point. And so that will be big for Apple. I do not believe Apple will come out with a 5G iPhone that will start under $1,000 on this initial batch. I believe you're gonna have to wait for the September 2021, and then that gets things really interesting for Apple stock in 2022. And I think you could definitely see some really big iPhone volumes actually in 2022, because once again, not everybody can afford a $1,500 iPhone, but if we're talking $800, now you're talking much more mass market. So I think if you're just looking at the next 12 to 18 months, it's going to be the start of the 5G cycle, and things are really going to get roaring in about 2 to 3 years from now, guys, okay? Now you might wonder, how the heck do I know these sorts of things, and why would I make a prediction like that? Well, I've owned Apple on and off for years now. I track this company very heavily, and so I generally know what's going on. I also own significant stakes in two semiconductor suppliers, one named Cirrus Logic, one named Skyworks Solutions, that does business with Apple, so I have a pretty good understanding. No, I don't have any connections inside Apple that makes me feel why they'll come out with this iPhone and this price point at this time. But being that I have these investments in this company and I do extensive studies on this company, I can definitely kind of formulate an opinion there, okay? Now, if we look at what analysts are expecting around this stock over the next couple years, so definitely EPS is expected to go up in current year and next year, up to $15 actually in 2021. Revenue is expected to grow from $276 million to $299 million, 6% to 8% revenue growth expected over the next couple years. So this is a business that will grow grow over the next couple years. There's no question about that. But is this a business that's going to grow 15%, 20%, even a 12% number? It doesn't look like that. It looks like Apple might be able to get back to growth and like maybe a 5 to 10% growth rate, which would definitely be attractive, but Apple is no longer like this fast growing company. And the law of large numbers have really caught up with Apple, and even if they come out with a really successful 5G iPhone, it's hard to move the needle in any major way around revenue growth as far as expecting like revenues to grow, go up 15 or 20%. It's such a big company now that even if a particular iPhone generation sells better than the last one, it's still hard to boost those numbers up. Just as the law of large numbers, it's what happens to all companies when they get this big, especially Apple. So at the end of the day, when I look at this Apple stock, it's not very attractive. You know what? I'll say it's not attractive at all to me. Okay, that's what I'll say. Okay, an Apple stock is not attractive at all to me up around $320. It's just not, or even over 300 in general. I mean, that trailing P is at 27, the forward P is over 21. The balance sheet is still good, but it's not as great as it once was. Okay, they still have about $100 billion in short-term investments in cash. They have another $100+ billion in long-term investments, but they do have about $92 billion in long-term debt now. Now, the debt is at very low interest rates, but still, $92 billion of debt is $92 billion of debt. So good balance sheet, but it's not the smashing great balance sheet that it once was. And there was once upon a time I called Apple stock the easiest money in the stock market from a risk-reward standpoint. I always got to look at risk-reward. And I did a video over a year ago, and I basically said anything under $170, it's easy money in Apple stock. Absolutely the easiest money you could possibly make. I bought Apple stock when it made that huge dip back in January of last year, $5,000 worth. I think we made a $2,000 profit in a very short amount of time with that one. In the days of Apple stock being the easiest money in the stock market are over, in my opinion. I no longer look at Apple stock as the easiest money in the stock market. I gave that title, 6 months ago or 9 months ago, I gave that title over to Facebook stock. From a risk-reward standpoint, that's now the easiest money in the stock market to make. But Apple has climbed so much. The valuation has risen so much, the trailing P has risen so much, the forward P has risen so much. When I look at all that, Apple is no longer the super interesting stock like it once was, when you could pick up these shares for $150 a year ago. Or a few years ago, like when Warren Buffett first started buying Apple stock, it was like $92, $95 a share, $100 a share, when there was all this drama and all this worry about, iPhone sales are going to be weak in the short term and things like that. That was easy money. That was just like you're going to make a lot of money. Anybody that had any type of long-term vision, looking multi-years out, like it was obvious you were going to make a lot of money. But as I look at the stock today, it is not very attractive. And being that it's no longer attractive, I can say it is too late to buy Apple stock, in my personal opinion. Great company, but the valuation there is just not attractive. Doesn't mean the stock will stop going up, but from my standpoint, looking at the valuation, I think it's too late to have bought the stock. I think there was a lot of opportunities, past years to get these shares for very cheap, and now the stock's just kind of fully priced, and it's already starting to price in a lot of the growth when it comes to the 5G iPhones and whatnot. But I want to hear your guys' opinion on Apple stock down there in that comment section. What do you think? You think Apple stock's still worth buying at $320 a share or above, or do you think this is a stock that's more of a buy, below 250, below 200, below 150? I would love to hear from you guys in that comment section. As always, smash the thumbs up button if you enjoy this new series called Is It Too Late to Buy? Thank you for watching and have a great day.